Welcome to Ministry Mondays with Meg. I'm Meg. Actually, guys, I'm Dr. Meg now. I finished my dissertation and all of that. So yay. I can say I'm Dr. Meg. I don't know if I'll make you call me that or not, but the t-shirt just says with Meg, so we'll just keep it that way. Anyway, welcome to the show. If you've never been here before, where you've been, but also we're glad you're here. So before I introduce you to my guest today, I wanted to let you all know about Rainy Mountain Kiowa Indian Baptist Church. It's out in southwest Oklahoma. It was destroyed, I think now 2 weeks ago, by fire. The sanctuary, where they actually have the church building itself, where they hold services, was completely destroyed. The high winds were going on in the area and hit a power line, or knocked a power line down, the power line on the church. Fire, it's destroyed. So if you are interested in helping rebuild Rainy Mountain Kiowa Indian Baptist Church, you can go here to the website that's listed. I'll also put it in the show notes along with all the other goodies that we have. So, moving on. Today my guest is my new friend, Reverend Dr. Melanie Hauser. Yay! And trivia for you all. Hauser, her last name. I went to Hauser High School in the thriving metropolis of Hope, Indiana. She's not from Hope, Indiana. That aside, it's still kind of cool. So, I didn't ask you, Reverend Doctor, how do you like to be addressed?
Oh, you can just call me Melanie.
Okay.
It's fun to have all of the titles and look impressive, and then just get called Melanie.
I get that. People just call me Meg. But yeah, there's stories also behind that. Other people who you do want them to call you doctor, but you know.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you get it. Anyway, so why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who you are, what you do, and we'll just kind of go from there.
Sure. So I am a university chaplain at a small liberal arts college in rural Northwest Iowa. Like so rural Northwest Iowa that this past Wednesday, the day before the first day of spring, we got a blizzard and we got like 10 inches of snow and everything shut down. And, we're not snow wimps around here. We're like, hardy people, but you couldn't see across the street, blizzard craziness. So the university I work at is called Buena Vista University. Nobody's heard of it. It's a great school with a Presbyterian heritage in a little town called Storm Lake, Iowa. And it's it's a super fun place to be. I grew up on the East Coast. I never would have picked rural Northwest Iowa as my settling place, but sometimes God has different plans than we do. And sometimes they end up making more sense, right? So I'm in this little town of Storm Lake. We have between 10 and 11,000 people, and we have probably between 20 and 30 languages spoken in the local public school system. Yeah, we are like the most diverse town in Iowa. We have people from South and Central America and Mexico, and people from Central Africa, and immigrants from Southeast Asia and Micronesia. And so if you're ever in rural Northwest Iowa, we have the best food. I'm just going to tell you, we have so much good food and so many interesting people here. And so,
wow, I'm like blown away by that whole
right
town size and then that diversity. That's in Iowa.
In Iowa, nobody thinks of Iowa like this.
Oh my God.
But we have a couple of large employers where you can work if English is not your first language and you're still working on learning it. And so it's the kind of place where somebody comes and goes, hey, you can make a living here because the cost of living is much more reasonable than it might be on one of the coasts. and it's a decent place to be. And then they like invite their friends and their family, and they invite their friends and their family. And yeah, I think it's awesome. I love it.
I mean, yeah. I'll say this, like, before I came here, I was a pastor and a college chaplain.
Ooh.
And I don't know, and it was also a very small college in Illinois, and I had the most fun.
Oh my gosh, yes. I tell people, so I've only been a chaplain for 5 years. We can get to that in a minute. But I tell people, like, I can't believe I get paid to just be me, to just love people with the love of God and help them see who they are as created in God's image and valuable and incredible people.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I love that, and it is. It's a fun job.
It is. It's so examples. We are April 12th. I noticed that like there's no community-wide Easter egg hunt here. I was like, that's a gap we could fill, right? So I may or may not have ordered 6,000 plastic Easter eggs on the internet and all the stuff to stuff them. And we've got things set up to hold an epic community Easter egg hunt that Saturday morning on campus. So
I only did 500, so I'm feeling like 6,000. How long did it?
like,
you had help, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Another person in charge of a different department and I are partnering together. We've got a bunch of student volunteers and student workers packing Easter eggs and getting ready to go. And so you can imagine in a community like I described in Storm Lake, sometimes a college campus can be an intimidating place, right? And we're like, no, just come hang out on our lawn and collect Easter eggs and bring your kids and we'll feed them hot dogs and enjoy life.
I mean,
that's
why not?
The kind of stuff I get to do. Yeah.
I think one of the other fun thing that I loved that I did. So the school that I was at was a work college, and so taking my teeny tiny budget, I went Black Friday shopping.
Ooh.
And bought all of these gifts and ordered the wrapping paper and all this stuff. And then I had a store. And so the students were still paying something. So there's a there's buying.
Right, there's buying.
But whereas they don't have the funds to go, but they're going to go home with Christmas presents for brothers and sisters and parents and things like that, where they wouldn't.
How fun is that?
Yeah, and the funds raised then went into like the student funds for, when you had students that needed things like shampoo and those kind of things. And so that was so much fun. Yeah. I love those kind of
fun stuff. Yeah.
So what did you do before?
Yeah. So
5 years, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I actually started working at this university in 2009, teaching chemistry. So the doctor, the lights. The doctor in the Rev Doc, Melanie Hauser, is actually a PhD in organic chemistry. And and I was like, I'm not dropping that just because I changed mission fields. So I got hired here to teach chemistry as a professor. Dabbled a little bit in taking some seminary classes just out of curiosity, but it was not the right timing and not the right deal. And so I dropped out of seminary and just, I had been doing online stuff and just kept on chugging along, teaching organic chemistry. And in 2020, like literally a week before the pandemic shut everything down, they eliminated several of the majors at the university for financial reasons. And chemistry was one of the bottom enrollment rate majors. And they said, we still need the faculty to teach full-time. We have all these like pre-med, pre-vet, pre-nursing, different kinds of science students, but we're going to eliminate the chemistry major. And it was like this Holy Spirit light up moment in my spirit, it was like, oh, this is the timing and this is the place, because we were currently also in between chaplains. Our previous chaplain had left in October of 2019. And I was like, I think this is it. So I went to the administration a week later after a lot of prayer and said, I have a proposal. How about I teach organic chemistry half-time, which is, a half-time load if I don't teach any other chemistry classes. And that's the only chemistry that nobody else would touch with a 10-foot pole, because, I mean, really. And then I can be chaplain the other half of the time. And they said, yeah, sounds great to us. We'll give it a shot. So, right. So we gave it a shot, and halfway through fall of 2020, even though it was crazy lockdown, whatever, I was like, no, I think this is it. I think this is the long-term deal. And they said, oh, by the way, we have a great endowment. If you need to get more education or whatever, we can pay for it. So it paid for my whole Master's of Divinity in exchange for me agreeing to not leave after I finished, which I wasn't going anywhere. I have the dream job, right? So I spent 2.5 years teaching chemistry half-time, chaplaining half-time, and going to school full-time. Finally, last February, a year ago, I said, I don't think this teaching chemistry half-time and chaplaining half-time is long-term sustainable, because we all know how half-time jobs are in general, and especially in ministry. And I said, do you think we can find somebody else to teach chemistry? I think I'm willing to give it up at this point. And we did. We were able to find somebody else to teach chemistry. It was a win-win for everybody. And so now I get to just be full-time chaplain.
How many people get to say that, though? I mean, how many?
Right.
You literally created your dream job, and
exactly.
If you don't go, wow, God was kind of busy there,
right? And that's why the quilt behind me on the wall, I don't know if you can see, is all these chemistry designs, because it used to hang up in my science office, stuff like that. So
look at you. See,
it's super fun.
Okay, so this is the part of all this that just is so much fun, is going, okay, so here you've got this. Wow.
Right?
Okay.
I mean, how does God come up with stuff like that, right?
So. Right. I mean, it's you're like, oh, sure, that's a story you read in a book, but no, these are people's actual stories, and look at how busy God has been. Wow. And okay, so the quilt did. Yeah. So you're a quilter, right?
I am a quilter. Yep.
Has that been a lifelong?
Yeah. So my grandmother was a quilter, and my mom is a quilter, and I went to college with a sewing machine, and I was like, I learned how to quilt mostly from a book, but I love something that combines creativity and beauty and color, and also nerdiness and mathematics and geometry. So it appeals to both sides of my brain.
Wow.
It's a ton of fun. And I always like to tell people, I think, if we agree that we are created in God's image and God is a creator, that means we're all called to be creators too. Right. Oh. And so what does that look like? I think everybody has a place where they're called to be a creator. Some of us just haven't found it yet, but that's where I get to be a creator.
I like that. I like that a lot. I mean, who would have ever thought that you would grow up to be not just a chemistry, and then you move from chemistry to
right.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. A lot of people ask, they're like, wow, that sounds like a really big shift. And I'm like, actually, it's not as big of a shift as you would think, because when you teach organic chemistry, people come and cry in your office anyway. And so I learned, I learned a lot about just listening to people and supporting them through tough times and stuff like that, that kind of part of chaplaincy before I was really a chaplain. Tell people I was just the School of Science chaplain before I was officially a chaplain.
And then, so like, did you meet virtually with people and things like that during the pandemic, or
We
you guys?
did. We were closed the second half of the spring semester in 2020, so we moved everything virtual. And I didn't start the chaplain part of my job until July 2020. And so I spent the second half of the spring semester 2020 trying to teach organic chemistry on Zoom. That was an adventure, right? And then we moved into the fall. We were back on campus, but we were masked and 6 feet apart and had our classrooms set up so that we had time for the custodians to come in and sanitize in between each class and things like that. So I did a lot of supporting students who got COVID and ended up in quarantine in their dorm room and couldn't leave for 2 weeks or things like that. Our weekly chapel service was like in person, but spread out and with like YouTube praise team and things like that. Kind of, we had the double edged part of COVID, and because they hadn't had a chaplain since October, trying to like take things that had somewhat plateaued and get them back on the ground. And
So I know you said it was Presbyterian,
yeah,
but so is it actually a, do they label themselves as a Christian school, or?
It depends on who you talk to.
Okay.
So we developed a statement of religious identity this past fall that basically says, we have a Presbyterian heritage, and that informs who we are and how we deal with people. And oh my gosh, Presbyterians and Baptists and Methodists and all sorts of people are all about like educating the whole person, right? And so that makes us a good educational institution. But we also, welcome people of all faiths and no faith and a little bit of everything in between. I would say the majority of students on this campus are not Presbyterian. At this state, we have a lot of people who would identify as Roman Catholic or non-denominational or a variety of, agnostic, atheist, questioning, spiritual, but not religious. Anything you can find in Gen Z, you can find on our campus. I'm United Methodist, so I'm about to be ordained United Methodist in June. And when they hired me to be the chaplain, nobody seemed to care that I was United Methodist at a Presbyterian school. Pretty sure the administration doesn't even know the difference, because, the differences are really minor to begin with. So,
right.
As chaplains, we support everybody anyway. So,
right. And do they make you do things like in ceremonies, like carry the Bible that's 200 years old that was used by the
Don't I wish? We don't have anything that cool. I know.
That was part of my job too.
Oh, no, I tell people most of my job is the DP. I'm the designated prayer, right? So
always that, yes.
Right. So we had a big, like, fancy function called the Beaver Ball, because we're the Buena Vista Beavers. And we had a big fancy Beaver Ball fundraiser in February in Des Moines, which is about 2.5 hours from here. And I had to go so I could say grace, because nobody else can say grace. That kind of stuff. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I get to do those things. I get to lead prayer and get things started at baccalaureate and commencement and opening convocation and things like that. And I think chaplains, not necessarily here, but I think in general, chaplains end up being the kind of people that nobody pays attention to needing a chaplain until they need a chaplain now, right? So a lot of my job is doing stuff and supporting people under the surface, but also like being ready for like whenever something happens.
Yeah, I completely get that. Also, the school I was at, they were also Beavers. So,
see, so many things in common.
I know. Yeah. And I think you're right. That's exactly it. Is they forget about the chaplain until, oh my gosh, we need a chaplain right now.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Well, you probably needed one before now, but okay.
Yeah. I feel fortunate to be in a place where at least the administration and the leadership recognizes the value of having a chaplain, and not just because they want to pay homage to whatever religious heritage we have. But we're on a campus that has, we have virtual counseling available 24/7, 365, but we have an in-person counselor on campus 1 day a week.
Nice.
And so we don't have a full-time counselor on campus right now, things like that. And so I think a lot of people are grateful to just have somebody who has a confidential resource that they can just come in and be like, I don't even know what to do with this, and talk out stuff that everybody has in life, but everybody wants to pretend they're the only ones who have it.
Yeah. And yeah. So is like, what do you do for your own like self-care stuff? Because when you take so much time taking care of other people, what do you do for you?
Yeah, it's a challenge, right? Like I feel like I'm still learning and evolving and how to do that well. I like having friends that I'm friends with, not because I'm in ministry, but just because we're friends. And so, for instance, I have friends who are the directors of a Presbyterian camp up the road about an hour and a half. And they're just fun people to hang out with. And we do stuff like go to the local ice hockey games and ring our cowbells really loud and do stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with the end of the world, right? Excuse me. So I love to quilt. I also knit and crochet obsessively, like pretty much through every meeting and stuff like that. Keeps me sane. Also, you probably know this because we have met on this fancy website called Clergy with Cats. But I have an amazing, awesome clergy cat that keeps me sane and keeps everybody else sane. So he's part of my ministry. He hangs out on campus as the therapy cat outside my office.
Oh,
yes.
I didn't know this. That's
yes. I will drag him in a little while so y'all can meet him. But he's a big fat orange cat. His name is Reepicheep, after the Narnia series, the character, the mouse with the sword that's taking on the world. And he's just a big fat lazy cat that's pretty sure that everybody is here to just rub his belly 24/7.
Oh my gosh. But if you're an orange cat, like, don't you have to be big and fat and just own it? I mean,
right, exactly. So he started coming to campus during COVID, like a few hours one afternoon a week. And this year, now that I am not teaching, I have one office. I'm in this office full time. I just started bringing him every day. And I'm pretty sure he's the reason that several of our students did not quit and go home after the first or second week of school, because they're like, well, I have to hang out with the cat. He has his own light up neon sign that says Reepicheep is in, so people know when he's here. And so right now he's become a local celebrity. So he rode behind my bike in the homecoming parade. And he has a line of merchandise. So you can buy t-shirts with his picture that say Fear the Reaper and Reepicheep's Peeps, and the proceeds from that support our local animal shelter.
Okay.
And then,
so we've got to put that website up.
We totally will.
Because, oh my gosh, yes. I'm a cat celebrity.
And he has his own, he came out with his own 2025 calendar this year of him in different pictures doing different things. So I'll put, and he has his own coloring book that one of the students developed. So those are all on my Etsy site if people need those. So I'll put a link to that too. Yeah.
Fantastic. Like, this is the best episode ever.
Right. And there's like, a student just came in and was really excited to show me. She had an art class where they had to film some sort of short video. And so they incorporated Reepicheep into it, of course. So, he's in student projects and whatever. He's just got a reputation now.
Okay. So I've said I need to make some merch for cats with my show on.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Because wow, celebrity cat. Wow.
Yeah, and he knows it too. He's kind of like now all, walks around all full of himself, but
and he doesn't have like his own like Instagram site or anything like that, though.
He does. He does have an Instagram, so I'll give you a link to that.
Okay,
too.
I'm gonna have
Yeah. I don't have an Instagram, but the cat does.
But the cat does. I often feel that way about my own cats. I mean, yeah, we got cats because, like, my middle child, who's now 21, almost 22, was having 12-year-old, all that. And so our primary care provider suggested we get a cat. And I went, absolutely not. And then we got a cat. And I was like, fine, then I'm naming it. And her name is Waffles.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So we have Waffles.
Excuse me.
Apparently it's not good for a cat to be alone. And so then we got Sassafras. Waffles is a Russian blue, and Sassafras is a demon. Not a demon.
Oh, yeah.
She is
What do you
call it? Siamese, Balinese.
Oh, prayers for you.
Right. Well, those two moved out because the middle child, got on with life when you call it. Yeah. But then the youngest goes, but I still need cats, Mom. So
Truth.
Repeat, and now.
Yeah. I did have a 3-legged cat for a while named Trinity, but Trinity had 3 legs for a reason. Like, he got in a fight when he was probably about 8 weeks old, and we're pretty sure he had some brain damage from that. So he doesn't live with us anymore. He lives on a farm. It was just, it was an untenable situation.
Yeah.
But when I first got Reepicheep, I had another orange cat named Mr. Tumnus, to match Reepicheep. And I had a friend whose cat passed away, and she was looking for another cat that was like not a kitten because she was too old to handle the kitten, but not also going to die next year. And Mr. Tumnus was like the right age and adored her. And I was like, I think Mr. Tumnus should come live with you. And so he lived a lovely, 3 or 4 years more with her. And now he's living with another friend since that friend passed away. And he's just been living his best life too. So I'm kind of partial to orange cats now, I have to say.
And now I'm going to have to show my youngest, who's 15, all the Reepicheep things. And oh my gosh, like you might have just made my show cool for.
I'm so glad.
I mean,
Reepicheep makes me instantly cooler with a lot of populations.
Right? I mean, don't have cats, don't get it.
It's kind of funny because on the days that I'm here, but Reepicheep is not for whatever reason, like the weather is horrendous and he stays home, like nobody shows up outside my office. You might get a couple of like regular hanger-ons, but then when the neon sign is lit, all of a sudden I'm cool again. Right. And they come to hang out with the cat, and then they might stop into my office. He does a really good job of providing a bridge for people who would never swing by the chaplain's office, right?
Right.
Who don't know what the chaplain does or are intimidated by the idea of a chaplain or like, I'm not religious, but I'll come pet a cat. Yeah. Right. And then they decide that, this is a safe place to be and they move on in. So.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's fantastic. And I love that the college is like, yeah, let's have a.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, let's support that.
He has to stay like right in this area outside my office. He's not allowed to wander around and harass anybody, but yeah.
Wow. So. That's so cool. Okay about riding in the car to campus?
Yeah, I only live about 6 blocks away, so that helps.
Okay.
When the weather's nice, he rides in the pet trailer behind my bike.
Of course he does.
And in the winter, he comes in. He has it basically looks like a baby carriage for a pet, and so he rides in that. So the carrier lifts on and off the wheels, and I pull him out of the car and put him on there and wheel him in, and he just sits up like the king, and we stop for coffee and
God. Okay.
Yeah.
Whether you're listening or watching, I'm putting I'll put all the links to the cat in the show notes, because you need to go and follow. You need to go and follow the cat. I mean,
yeah, the students have decided that his job title is the university chaplain, and that they want to put his headshot on the staff page. I'm like, that might be pushing it. We'll see how University of Marketing and Communications feels about that.
I think it's doing it, really.
Right. I mean, we do our best. So
I asked for an office therapy cat. I even said a dog if we must, and they said no. And instead, Laura, if you're watching or listening, I'm going to talk about it. They got one of those. It's supposed to be realistic, like dogs in a basket thing, and it even like breathes. It creeps me out.
Well, and
people can babysit it when they're having an. I'm like, no, I don't want to turn.
Realistic is unpredictable in Catland, so you need something unpredictable.
Exactly. Yeah. And they just like they know the cats just know when you're having a bad.
Yeah, they do. It was really funny yesterday. We had an alum come back she graduated in 2014, and she came back to do a talk last night, and she stopped by to say hey to me because she'd had science classes with me. And she heard about this cat, and instantly 3 students jumped up with their phones and were like, okay, here's pictures of the cat. This is the cat playing Uno. This is the cat doing this. And
and this is how it should be. I mean,
and really. This is how we have God's love wrapped up in fur. That's
right.
How it works around here.
Yes. That's exactly it. I love that. I'm going to use that sometime. God's love wrapped up in fur.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except for sassafras.
No, not that one, right?
Oh, no.
Fallen angel. Did you need to rename her?
She pees on everything.
That's why Trinity's a farm cat now, too.
Mm-hmm. She will pull jackets down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and the vet's like, good luck.
Yeah. We tried everything, and I was like, you know what? I think we would all be happier if you got to live outside. That's how it had to be. But Reepicheep would just stare at him and roll his eyes and be like, really, bud? Like, move on. Grow up, you know?
And maybe that's what's best for me. I don't know. But also, my kid grew up and left.
There you go.
And took those 2. So we have the other 2 now.
Yay.
Which thankfully aren't peers. They have their own quirky issues, as they do. But, at least they aren't peers of all things. So,
agreed.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
See, this is why I do this show. I never know how good they're going to be.
Yes. So this is the funnest part of ministry.
Right. I mean, I'm go, hey, guess what I did today? All about
right.
Cats and chaplaincy. I mean, really, it maybe needs like a little clerical collar.
Yeah, he needs something.
Yeah,
he definitely does.
Shake paws at graduate. Oh, I love this.
He has a couple of sweaters that he wears when it's really cold here in the winter, and he has to come in. So,
oh my gosh, yeah.
He's kind of like a limp sack of potatoes and will let you do anything. He's like, well, I tell people he's the Winnie the Pooh of cats. So, like, if you irritate Winnie the Pooh, he's just like, well, oh, bother.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that's about how Reepicheep, oh, bother. Okay. If you insist.
This is great. What else do we need to know about you?
Oh, man. I've lived all over the country, which makes life really fun. I feel like living all over the country makes you a connoisseur of really good church potlucks.
Yes.
So I grew up in New Jersey, in the Community of Christ church denomination.
Okay.
And then I did my undergraduate degree at Penn State. And there wasn't any Community of Christ church nearby, so I hung out with the Methodists and the Lutherans.
Okay.
And then for graduate school, I decided 3,000 miles was about the right distance from my family at that point in my life.
Seems like it.
Right. Right. So I went to University of Oregon for graduate school. And I was ELCA Lutheran in Oregon.
Okay.
And met all sorts of cool, interesting people and learned about like fancy foods like sushi and how you can make vegan things taste good, etc., which, I hadn't really grown up with a lot. And then my first teaching job was in Central Kentucky. So I moved to Central to Kentucky, and that's when I became United Methodist, and I've stuck with them. But it's kind of nice to have an ecumenical background because then you get to hang out with everybody. I tell people I'm happy, I'm happy worshiping in a Catholic church. I'm happy worshiping in a charismatic Pentecostal church. I can worship with anybody. So yeah, I hung out with the Methodists in Kentucky, learned how to make some really good cheese grits. If you've never had cheese grits, you need to have cheese grits to learn how to live.
Now you're talking my dad's language.
Yeah.
That's my dad's thing. Like he loves when he came to visit, he had to try Scrapple because everybody.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Me?
My dad grew up in Philadelphia. Scrapple. I could, and I can tell you all
gray. It's like gray, and so I can't eat gray.
It is. My grandfather used to say it was all the parts of the pig except for the oink. Right? That's totally what Scrapple is.
Gray, and I can't.
So, yeah, I learned all the things to eat and not to eat. So now I live in rural Iowa. I flew out. The job in Kentucky was a 3-year temporary position.
Okay.
I flew out here for an interview. It was January. It was 1 degree out. And the closest airport is essentially 2.5 hours away. So I flew into Omaha, and this is before GPS was a really common thing. Right. And I didn't have a smartphone. So they sent me a map with their route highlighted to the university. And I got here and I got out of the car in the middle of nowhere. And I was like, I think this is home. I think this is where God is right now. So I have learned to love things like scotcheroos. I love scotcheroos.
Wait, I'm going to need you to find what a scotcheroo is.
Oh my gosh. You definitely need to Google scotcheroos. So think like dessert bars, right? So like, Rice Krispie treat kind of size things, right? But they're made kind of like Rice Krispie treats, but they're made with butterscotch chips melted in. And then they have a layer on top of like chocolate butterscotch frosting.
That sounds fantastic.
It is amazing. I may or may not on Tuesday have gone to the grocery store and bought a package of scotcheroos. So during the blizzard, we would not be deprived of something fun.
I'm going to put my kid on this. I got a kid who likes to bake.
Scotcheroos, very important. Show up at every potluck.
And also loves the butterscotch.
Oh, yeah.
So
there you go.
He has autism, and
oh yeah. Mm-hmm. He will be all about the scotcheroos.
I'm putting him on this.
Everybody's grandma has a recipe. And then the thing that I could take or leave about Midwest potluck cuisine is tater tot casserole.
Okay.
I have no use for tater tot casserole. It is everybody's comfort food around here. When somebody dies and they have a funeral, you bring them tater tot casserole to put in their freezer. Oh my gosh. I could take or leave most casseroles because I feel like, especially in the Midwest, it's like how many processed foods can we combine into one dish?
Right.
It has to have Ritz crackers and Jell-O and
So is it okay? So the one that I'm well acquainted with from Indiana was hamburger and like a cream of something soup.
Yes.
And cheese and tater tots on the top.
Yeah, and whatever frozen vegetables you have in the freezer. Any variety thereof. Succotash or corn and beans or green beans or and then
you also get those when you have babies and in the Midwest sometimes a church that decided to do a fill the freezer thing and corn casserole.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's 50 varieties of corn and potato casseroles too.
Mm-hmm.
And I have some digestive issues, and I would much prefer to eat like, plain meat and vegetables and things like that. And so I often bring my own giant fruit salad to potlucks here. But scotcheroos have, changed my life.
I'm looking forward to them changing mine as well, and I'm kind of feel deprived at this point that I grew up in the Midwest and didn't.
Yeah, it's really kind of sad.
I mean, I feel like I've been failed just a little bit, folks. Man,
I also have. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just say Indiana. What's the deal?
Yeah, they're missing out. Right. The other thing that people in rural Northwest Iowa and I guess some parts of Nebraska do together is chili and cinnamon rolls.
At the same meal?
At the same meal. Like you make chili and then you make cinnamon rolls on the side and they go together. And people who like grew up here, like it was served in the school cafeteria and they swear by it. And it's actually a pretty decent combination. I wouldn't have thought to put it together, but I could be okay with it,
Chili and cinnamon roll. Important question about that chili. Does it have noodles?
Not that I have seen.
Okay.
I don't think people would object, but I don't think it's a requirement.
No, if you put noodles in it, my husband says then that makes it goulash.
I'd have to go with him.
That's how so noodle free is.
I also I have a heritage in the deep South. My mom is from the Gulf Coast of Alabama, and her dad was a shrimp fisherman. And so my cuisine also incorporates, like, I make a really mean pecan pie. And I have found in life that you can use a pecan pie to bribe people to do all sorts of stuff that you need help with. Like if you need to borrow somebody's pickup truck, a pecan pie can usually do it. Or if you need like some college students with muscles to move furniture, a pecan pie or some layers of brownies go a long way.
There you go, folks. Ministry Mondays with Meg, providing you with great life tips.
Exactly.
Need friends? Get a cat.
Yeah.
Need to borrow something? Make a mean pecan pie. Not store-bought, they're gonna know.
Right. And I'm a single woman. I don't have any kids. And so I've learned a lot about how to survive on your own without other people who know how to do stuff that traditionally other people might know how to do. And so I'm the master of the barter system. Like, we can work stuff out. If I have a neighbor, who does not have a snowblower, and we have a pretty good deal that I have a big snowblower, but when I use it, it looks like somebody drunk snowblowed the driveway because it's like bigger and meaner than I can handle. And so I keep it gassed up and in working condition. My neighbor comes over, grabs the snowblower, and does my driveway on the way over to do his and brings it back. So we have a pretty good,
like a fair trade to me.
Trade system. Yeah, it works pretty well.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that at all. No. See, folks, you never know what you're gonna get. Never know what you're gonna get.
All the good stuff.
Right. I do have to remember to ask you the joy question.
Yeah.
What's the thing that brings you? You got all. I mean, sometimes I like guess in my own head. In this case, I'm not even gonna go. Yeah. What's the thing that brings you joy?
I feel like just about everything in life brings me joy, but I'm gonna go get my joy and bring it in here to show you. Give me a second.
Yay! Okay, folks. So you are missing out. Sorry if you're only listening, because those who are watching are about to meet the infamous cat. Or I'm also doing taking some Duolingo and learning Spanish.
Gatito Reepicheep. Yes.
Oh, hello.
This is Reepicheep.
You are big and lovely.
He's a big dude. One of our Hispanic students decided his middle name is El Gordito. So he's just.
I mean, he doesn't mind. I mean,
right?
Cats need middle names too.
Right.
Yeah.
So
sometimes they're profanity names.
Right.
I mean.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
The
So
Reepicheep.
he brings me joy.
And we're going to share all the links and all that because, you know, all the cats should be rescues. I'm a
Agreed.
huge
Yeah.
like, rescue those kitties because
He
they
was like 9
need
weeks
it.
old on the side of the road and covered in fleas, and somebody found him, and
Oh,
so he ended up with me. And yeah.
oh, yeah. And then and I think like they know, like when they come,
Oh yeah.
like I'm going to be loved here. Our one that is our newest, youngest, whatever, um, came from so we're in Pennsylvania, but it came from like an adoption agency that was in Mississippi and brings
Mm-hmm.
them, you know, and like she didn't complain and came in the Sprinter van. We met him in a hotel parking lot with all the other people picking up their
Mm-hmm.
animals that day, and she didn't complain on the hour plus ride home, and she just like licks. She thinks she's a dog, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, she likes to groom her people, and I think she's still telling you thank you and that I love you
Yes.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so they're just crazy special like this. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that you agreed to do this. Like,
Yeah, it's so much fun.
oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. So for those listening, those watching, don't worry. I'll put up the Etsy page if you want to look at all the things that she makes and things. We'll put up Kiowa Baptist Church. We'll put up Reepicheep and all the merch and the Instagrams and all. And if you are listening, watching, and you got somebody cool like Melanie that I need to meet and has like, let me know, introduce me so that we could be friends too and then come and share their story because that's what this is about is just giving people a place to tell about these weird and wonderful things that we get to do, and that's all called ministry, and it is a thing that really that brings me joy. So thank you so much for being
Thanks
a
for
part of this.
having me. This has been
And
delightful.
we thank everybody for watching, and we'll see you next one.